I loved it. Now, so I'm feeling like a lot of young kids are getting a lot of attention at the moment, and all the adults are getting a lot of attention. But what I'm trying to focus on is those kids in between, because those kids are our future. Now, I come from an organisation that I founded recently. It's called Students Against Tyranny. My aim is to build a platform that connects like-minded students so they don't feel so alone and isolated in their opinions and their beliefs. Because right now, they are being pressured into taking an experimental drug. I remember the days when we went to school and they did assemblies on why we shouldn't take drugs. But now those same people are telling us to take something that's an experiment. Something that is killing them. 14 out of 394 in the Pfizer trials died. 1,600 dead in total. Only 10% are reported. And they want to vaccinate even younger. I say no more. No more. And so this is what my platform is doing. It's connecting these students so they can say no. So they can actually stand up and fight against this. Because students used to be on the forefront of revolutions. But where has that gone? It's been completely changed. I walked into my university the other day, and the first thing I saw was the BBC on the big TV screen. Turn it off! Yeah, turn it off, that's right. Sorry, I'm out of breath. Keep going. If you want to find me, I'll be on Twitter. Right, we've almost raised over £10,000 in 3 weeks. How incredible is that? I went viral with this one statement. If you allow the government to break the law and to violate your rights because of an emergency, what's stopping them from creating an emergency to break the law? They don't care about you. They never have. It's time now. It's the time to stand up and say no. If you are young and you're watching at home, join us. You are not alone. Thank you.
Oh, well done, James. I'm so proud to see young people stepping up, stepping out, actually awake, realising what's going on in the world. You don't stop what you're doing, friend. You're incredible. This is what happens when we come out, when we use our power. Thank you, James. I now have a lovely lady I want to introduce you to. Her name's Fee. You know what? She took a stand in a park. Yeah, who's heard of a stand in the park? Raise your hand. Who's part of Stand in Your Park? Raise your hand. Well done. It's a really passive way to speak and connect to people in your communities. Continue doing it. I'll pass you over to Fee. Thank you.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Hello. Next away, all the standers, lovely standers out there. So nice to be out there today, doing us proud. So, anyone who's been feeding out numbers should know this. We have over 700 stands in the UK alone. So people coming together every Sunday, unifying, making their stands, building community. I started this in February, and back in February, just standing in your park was actually a revolutionary act. So things have eased a little bit now, but I do fear that we're going to be going back that way. So it's important that we're still making our stands every week. So why did I start this? So aside from making that physical stand, refusing to comply with absolute nonsense, insanity, it was to meet my tribe. Because so many of us felt totally alone in all of this. People were losing friends and family, falling out, and where was everyone? So those were the two main reasons. But what's grown out of this has just been incredible. I could never have foreseen the true community that's being built, the initiatives that are coming out of these stands every week. We've got people out there in the streets doing outreach, leafleting, serving notices of liability. They're, making food banks, growing food. It's just been incredible. Nuremberg, yeah. So the stands have been, what became very clear very quickly is that the stands are a lifeline for so many of us. And it just shows how many of us there are. There's not one region in the British Isles that doesn't have a stand. So in the end, this is all about choice. The choices we're making, they want us to believe that we have no choice. But we always have a choice. They want to break us. We choose to stand strong together. They want to divide us, keep us separated. They want to keep us focused on all the superficial differences. But we choose to stand strong together. They are working 24/7 so hard to try and keep us apart. But look, it's not working. It's not working. Every time we stand in our personal truth, our personal power, and we do what we know to be right, no matter how uncomfortable, how inconvenient, how unpopular it might be, they lose. They are losing. The truth is, we hold the power. The one thing they fear the most is us stepping into our power, embodying our truth, and knowing that nobody has any authority over us. And when we come together and do that, we are unstoppable. They are losing. They are losing. They will not win. We continue to stand strong together. If you're not going to a stand already, get down to your park on a Sunday. Go on the website, check out the list, hundreds and hundreds of parks. Meet your tribe locally, regionally, and we keep standing together. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Fee. I think the aim of the story there is that you're not alone. That there's places that you can go and get connected in. You don't have to suffer it. You can get with your community and be empowered together. Be empowered to take on initiatives. So next up we have Professor Robert Endreth from the Imperial College London, believe it or not. This is a guy who has actually worked alongside some of the people who are making the decisions for us in government. Yeah? But he's on our side. So let's hear what you have to say, Professor. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's great to see so many fantastic people. Can you hear me? So my name is Robert Enders, and I'm a scientist at the University in London. And I'm also a mathematical modeler, but I do not agree with the single-minded, arrogant approach taken by many scientists, advisory boards, and governments. Astronomer Carl Sagan once said, great claims require great evidence. And the burden of evidence is on those people making these outrageous claims. It's not on us. So if this is a Spanish flu, then they have to provide it, and I haven't seen it.
Yes! Where is flu?
Looking back, I was horrified when I saw the so-called lockdown paper from March 2020, which was used which was turned into government policy despite being based on sketchy data, and it wasn't even peer reviewed. So, just 1 second. So to put this in perspective, a quick look back then at the flu data at the Public Health England showed that there are roughly 2,000 flu deaths during flu season every week, which was much higher than the number of COVID deaths at that time. A quick look at results from the Princess Diamond cruise ship and work by Professor John Ioannidis from Stanford University showed that this was not a killer virus. Nevertheless, one lockdown after the other, and obviously didn't work. So Albert Einstein supposedly said one definition of insanity is doing something again and again and expecting a different outcome. In fact, lockdowns are barbaric and they kill millions of people in livelihoods worldwide. At university, we teach our students to be critical thinkers and to have good work ethics, but then we throw these ideas overboard when it really matters. The whole approach based on lockdown, social distancing, and face masks and so on is not evidence-based.
Pseudoscience.
If you don't get the science right, then the consequences are colossal. And that these approaches are taken to the schools and applied to our children. If we don't get the science right at the universities, then who will? This madness is to stop now.
Yes.
I'm not a virologist or epidemiologist, but as a modeler, I normally know what to do and what not to do. Generally, models can be very useful to make predictions, to guide time-consuming and expensive experiments. They can also be used to gain mechanistic insight in a phenomenon based on its components. You can also sometimes predict different classes of outcomes and the likelihood of occurrence. But we normally follow Occam's razor, meaning we aim for a very minimalistic model because a complex model based on many undefined parameters can produce any result you like.
Bullshit,
Basically. So the mathematician and computer scientist John von Neumann, he was a contemporary of Alan Turing, said with 5 parameters I can fit an elephant and make its tail wiggle. Meaning there's a danger of overreaching and overfitting. This particular sensitivity to parameters is in particular worrisome when you deal with models of ultra-fast exponential growth, like we have for pandemics. So only a fool would take model output and turn it into policy within a matter of weeks. I work in a field called systems biology, which is essentially modern quantitative biology. He knows that complex biological systems are rarely about a single molecule or a single gene or a single virus. So this focus on a single virus, irrespective of our immune system and person-to-person differences, is old-fashioned reductionism, not modern science.
Yes.
So this primitive belief-based worldview is really like going back to the Dark Ages. So Galileo Galilei, who was prosecuted by the Inquisition of the Roman Catholic Church for saying basic scientific truths based on observation, was put under house arrest until the end of his life, like essentially self-isolation, and we know what that feels like. So he said, in matters of science, the authority of 1,000 does not stand the humble reasoning of a single individual. So basically stand by your convictions, even if they're unpopular. Another thing about the Dark Ages is that childhood, or children in general, were not safeguarded. Think of child labor. We must never go back to these dark times, marked by economic and intellectual and cultural decline. So looking forward, we need to stop the tunnel vision and the dangerous groupthink and go back to a broad, open-minded scientific debate.
Yes.
there's no right or wrong science or one way to follow science, but it's a process over years involving many research groups and labs to find a consensus. We have to go back to these valuable scientific principles because they work. Okay, thank you for listening. Bye.
Thank you, Professor. Before you go, is there an call to action or anything that you're involved with that you want to tell the people about?
Well, do your research, and I think you did a great job.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I've got a quick announcement about Julian Assange.
Get your phones out now, people! Open your diaries and put this date in! The 27th of October, 9 AM, a call for action for a truth teller, a real journalist that has been locked up in Belmarsh prison for the last 2 years. Julian Assange, free Julian Assange. When I say free, you say Julian. Free! Free! Thank you. So remember, people, the 27th of October, 9 AM, I want to see at the Strand at the Royal Courts of Justice, 9 AM on the 27th of October. I want to see every single one of you at the Royal Strand, at the Royal Courts of Justice on the Strand for a true journalist, an award-winning journalist. Free!
Thank you. You got that in your diaries, right, friends? Next up, we've got Dan Astin-Gregory. Give it up for Dan.
Hello everyone, good to see you again. Now this day, 1 year ago, how many people were standing on Trafalgar Square? Let me show your hands. When the selection of speakers, including doctors, were speaking and sharing their views on what's going on in the world. Now if you remember that 1 year ago, that event was closed down forcefully. Whilst Dr. Heiko Schöning, a German doctor, was visiting the United Kingdom, his speech was cut short and he was later arrested. We're 1 year on and what has changed? Things are getting worse. Would you agree? But I'm not here to share a message of doom and gloom. We get enough of that on a daily basis. And there are a lot of issues that we are here to stand against today. But I encourage you to stand for something today. One thing that is in common amongst all of these challenges that we're facing is government overreach, excess government control. Whether that's lockdowns, vaccine mandates, or unauthorized vaccines that are approved by politicians, that is excess intervention into our lives. And when you permit the government to step into your lives in the way that they have, it's very difficult to get them to step back. Which is why we must continue to do what we are doing here today, and why over 1 year on it's still important for us to gather in numbers as we have done this weekend. Yeah. It takes real courage to step up and stand up and speak your mind and your truth. And every one of you deserves a round of applause for being here. Not only today, but consistently. Give yourselves a round of applause. Now, as I said, here we are 1 year on. I want you to think about 1 year from now. What kind of world do you want to see 1 year from now, 5 years from now, and 10 years from now? Boris in jail. Boris in jail on the front. I'm sure there's lots of people who want to see how to account. But nonetheless, whilst we do have pressing issues that are urgent and right now need action, today is a great way to raise awareness amongst the public, send a message to politicians, and show people that there is major issues that the public care about. And we continue to do that, but we need to find other forms of action until we succeed in overturning some of these policies. But I also encourage you, 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, how many of you are here to commit to a better future for ourselves and our children? I became a father 3 weeks ago. My son, it's his 3-week birthday. And when I look into his eyes and feel his beating heart, I think, what kind of world is he going to grow up in? And the trajectory that we've been on over the past 12 months, where we've seen this excess invasion into our lives, this rise of authoritarianism, the violation of our civil liberties, the erosion of our human rights, and the suppression of democracy. I say no to those things. My child is not going to grow up with less rights, less freedoms than I grew up. He's going to grow up with more freedoms, more rights, and greater opportunities than I ever had. So whilst, yes, we gather here today to stand against the key issues that we're facing, whether that's vaccine passports, please do make sure you sign the Together Declaration, togetherdeclaration.org, whether you're standing up against mandatory vaccines, which, by the way, care homes, NHS, we're coming up to the winter. Our elderly citizens need our support right now because the care homes are going to be decimated by these mandates. And if they're allowed to be permitted in the NHS, then we know the NHS is already overrun and overstretched. It's going to have a winter of hell if we don't prevent these mandates. And furthermore, we cannot allow politicians to make medical decisions for our children. So we must take urgent action going into winter. We must stand together, we must unite the movement, and we must bring the rest of the humanity with us. But we have to look forward and commit to the long-term future that we want to create, because what is in common with every issue that we are facing today, but every other movement that the world is challenging, is government overreach, structural and systemic issues that need to change, and it's down to us to create a better future for the people and the planet. The future, my friends, is in our hands. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Dan. Dan made a really important point there. You know, we've been marching on the streets month after month, and we haven't really seen much change, have we? I'll tell you one change I have seen is a change in all of us. It's a change in our stature. Our heads are held higher. We're empowered. We're more connected than ever before. Coming to these marches are critical. I don't care who you are, what you think about them. Every single initiative that every single one of you are involved in is important. It has a place. These marches have a place, irrespective of what you believe. Tell the people that you're connecting to on a local level to come to these marches. We need numbers. All we need is 3.5% of our population. 3.5% of 67 million is 2.3 million people. We're halfway there. Think about it. For every one of you standing here, there's another 2, 3, 4 that haven't made it, right? Keep doing what you're doing. Right, I have another lovely chap who I've had the pleasure of working with this whole year. His name's Nacho. Stand up for Nacho!
Where are my conscious brothers and sisters? Where are my freedom fighters? I'd firstly like to express my honor, appreciation, and love for every soul here. It has been a deeply humbling and truly enhancing experience to be a part of this challenging journey. Stand Up began when 20 or so individuals were brought together through their courage and right to freedom. Now we stand beside our millions of brothers and sisters across the world who will not back down, will not give up, and will not be defeated. Those who stand on the right side of history and can hold their head up high.
Because no matter how hard it got, no matter the pressure put on them, stood strong, stood firm, and stood united. Be ready, be prepared. The victory is ours, but the war is far from over. I'd like to give my sincere gratitude to everyone that helps put these events together, and those who work tirelessly to distribute and propagate the truth. Whether it be through leaflets, through outreach, or through rallies, one thing is for certain: our network, our community, our family is vast, our creativity inspiring, our resource and resolution infinite. It is now time for us to utilize our divine wisdom and embrace this opportunity to construct our new reality. Our ancestors are watching, our children are listening. Let's make them proud. It was never going to be easy. It was never going to be simple, but we are worthy of the challenge. It's in these testing times where we will discover what we are made of, where we will have to look inward to realize our greatest potential. Individually, we hold immense power, but collectively, we are unstoppable. We are now learning to harness our collective energy effectively and efficiently. The 1% realize this and will do everything they can to disconnect us. Attempt after attempt will be made to frighten, confuse, and divide us, which on the surface may appear somewhat successful, but will ultimately use to further fuel our revolution. We have all been selected, entrusted, and privileged with the honor of destroying this corrupt, sinister, and evil system, and then building a society based on virtue, equality, compassion, and love, in harmony with nature and our planet's abundance. We are returning to our intended path, but we are tasked with directing and leading the rest of humanity. Guard your spirit, elevate your consciousness, raise your vibration, follow your wisdom. We are the people, we are the power, we are the 99%. Stand up!
Take your freedom back. Thank you, Nacho. Nacho's so right. You have been selected. You've got a destiny and a purpose that has been seeded within you from the beginning of time. You've been given spiritual eyes to see and realize what's going on for a reason. You've got to discover what that reason is, that purpose, and move yourself into action. Okay, next up, we've got Joe Wonders, sorry, even. Lawyers from Liberty.
Good to see so many people. That's brilliant. I'm loving it. This is like a perfect end to the day, is it not? So, there she was. Trafalgar Square, September 2020. The speakers have just stopped. The clapping has quietened down. And suddenly, she sees from the corner a line of bright yellow walking towards the speaker stage. At first, she didn't know what it was. And then she could feel a change in the crowd. It went quiet. A chill went down her spine. And one of the police officers, well, all the police officers, walked up to those who were sitting on the ground with their hands in the air, with their back high and person in front. And in that moment, Lawyers for Liberty was born. And I say this because the last time I gave this speech, I got quite emotional. Because I suspect that each and every one of you, we've been on a journey the last 18 months, right? It's been a roller coaster, up and down, and round and round. And even though we know the destination, it's still a surprise when they allow that next thing. It's emotional. And so all I want to say, off the back of that one seed, we now have
I didn't move it again. Please say no. Just keep going, Joe.
let's just think that if this happens again 1 year later, it took 1 year for my complaint to be heard. Please stay safe, everybody. Please stay safe. After that 1 year, at the end of that evening, the newspaper suggested that we had. The newspaper said that they were the ones who had done wrong. And just as they walk into today, do exactly as they are doing, this is exactly the problem. This is very disappointing that 1 year later we are still having exactly the same problem. I'm going to keep going. After that event, many people contacted us saying that they felt powerless, that they felt unheard, that they felt abused. I feel disappointed that they can't wait until the end. Again. Well, my message would have been, you are not powerless. You may be unheard, but you can't be silenced. Your voice is a muscle of your soul. Danny.
I'll take it. Pass it in. It's that one, I think.
Danny. Protest. You people are embarrassing yourselves.
Hold on. Excuse me. Could you hold the ladder so she can get down, please? You go down first. You go down first. Thank you. I don't really know, my friend. I think we're probably outstaying our welcome and the time is up. A license? You didn't have a license? I don't know the specific issue. I've not spoken to the officers. I have no idea. Maybe the officers will give you an answer, but hopefully it's able to close down peacefully.
Why did you
Nobody up there. Yeah, so I don't know the situation. Obviously, Joe Rogers of Lawyers for Liberty was giving a speech recounting exactly what happened this time last year. Unfortunately, they've come in peaceful this time. Last time we saw this happen, that's right. If it's not authorised, maybe that's a reason. But nonetheless, we've made ourselves heard today in London. We've heard the speeches. It's just the beginning. We will continue. We'll continue to share information with the great change. Thank you to everyone that supported me being here today. It's important that we continue. Today is just a reminder that we have to keep going. Okay? Well done. Keep going. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. On the phone, mate. Right, here we are, guys, in London. This is where we are. So, folks, we're here live in London, Clapham Common, where the sun is now setting on the closed stage, which was shut down by the police here. Several hours of music as you saw watching the live stream. We've also seen a number of talks. I'm just trying to find some of our colleagues so that we can reconvene. John? Just Joe got down, she's looking for you. So, Joe's down. Yeah, she is down. It's best. Yes, she got down, and so she said she was looking for me. Can I give that to you? Yes, I saw a personal email from the other day, actually. I just need to help loads of people. Yeah, so we are live reporting from London. If you're watching, the protest has just been shut down by the police here at Clapham Common, midway through Joe Rogers' speech, talking about exactly what happened this time last year, where the event got shut down. And again, this is a peaceful protest. In the interest of balance in the pandemic podcast, we are effectively having a rave in the park. In the best will of the world, as much as I'd love the music to be free and to pump out a big sound in the park, technically we probably shouldn't be doing that, but nonetheless, simple acts of rebellion and some of this obedience are needed in order to advance this movement. So, you know, what a there we are. We found it.
So how they shut us down, and then they have shut down again. And again, I don't get to speak.
You found Joe.
I've got the film of you, and
Oh, wow.
you and I were both next to him when he was arrested last night.
You sent that to me.
And I was going to say how nice I found it very,
Look at the sun, people! Look at the beautiful sun as it goes down in the sky! Don't let the sun go down with dark flames towards the police. Be encouraged!
Right, so making sense of what's going on. So if you're with us for the first time. We're here at Clapham Common. The event has just been shut down by the police. It's sealed up. Sound is off. Game over. And it's time to go home. I'm going to go and say hello to Nacho, which is I don't know if you saw his speech. One of my favourite speeches of the evening.
That was great.
Mate,
Well
honestly,
done.
one of the best speeches.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Well done, Dan.
So who knows where this will go next, but we're here live in Clapham Common. We've had DJ set for international DJ Danny Rampling, blast in the past, blast in the present, bringing the tunes, and now after several speeches the event was closed down, and here we are. You can see behind me Waterloo Police, where this truck where the speeches were occurring was shut down. And interesting, during the Lawyer for Liberty speech from Joe Rogers, hopefully you heard the end of her speech, but this is history in the making. And I said to you in a post yesterday, will you be there? You have to be here if you want to help create change. It's down to all of us now to step up and continue to move forward. There are people here I've spoken to, including my dear friend Sonia here. We're here for the first time.
I've just tried to split the police. Like, the police, to be honest, it's not the police's fault. They're just following orders, right? And it's like, it's such a shame we're all human beings. We are all the same people. It's like, it's sad that we're separated.
Yes,
like
it is.
And this is what and you can feel violence from our side, violence from their side. That's not solving the thing. The whole thing is we should come together.
You're absolutely right. But there does come a time where we need to say following orders is not acceptable.
Yes, it's not.
You know,
and they are following orders.
And they are today.
They are following
but we need to work with
them. But I
them.
looked into the
Absolutely.
eyes of one of them and I went, you don't need to do this.
You don't want to be here.
No. They're like, they're having a dance, having a great time. We're listening to inspirational
Guaranteed, some of these people here were in the nightclubs back in the day when Danny was being on the tunes. There's definitely going to be some fanboys amongst the group of men standing there who are just rocking out.
They're waiting for a fight. They're waiting for someone to
Well,
punch out.
Which is why I was saying,
and that's why I was like, stop, because the guys.
Absolutely, we've got to raise that energy. It's all about peace. It's about love. This is a movement of conscientiousness. It's a movement of consciousness. It's about elevating ourselves so that we become, today the people looking in have seen how much fun we've had here. We've raised the vibration. But the real work happens tomorrow and the next day when we move forward and continue to take action. Action is key from here, and there's many forms of action we can take. But the officers here, they've been respectful. It's disappointing, of course. I don't think it's justified in any way. But we'd be lucky to go this far, to be quite frank. I need to track down fellow speakers to see what's happening next. But you can see behind us, police have shut down the event here in London, and people are being dispersed. Interesting time to be alive, eh? The revolution is in the making, but as I spoke about earlier, it's not about revolution, it's about evolution.
There is a mass number of police already kitted up in that direction, and I'm quite certain if we don't start to disperse, they're going to bring in the army. So I'm just forewarning you, let's not end on a bad vibe. Let's keep our vibration high. Let's leave today with a successful finish. Come back on the 30th of October, that's our next march. The day before Halloween.
We'll be back. We'll be back.
Look, they're telling us that we didn't apply for a license. How ridiculous is this? Let me tell you, you cannot license someone to do something illegal. What is illegal? It's illegal. You don't license someone to do it. It's bullshit.
Okay, so interesting turn of events. The police have shut down the event here in Clapham Common. We're still live here on the Pandemic Podcast. It's been a long day. On a personal note, it's time for me to go home and be with my wife and newborn son. It's been a long day, and I have duties to freedom, but I also have duties to my family and my newborn son. So I'm going to try and locate my fellow speakers, make sure they're safe and sound, and we'll regroup, we'll continue. We've done our job today, we've done our duty, we've raised the vibration, we sent a message, we've had some amazing talks, we had an amazing time. Watch this space, we will continue. Thanks very much, good night for now, you may see me again. There's a huge collection of I mean, it's just like wall to wall helmeted officers. I'll try and get a scene. So as we look down here, this exit here is absolutely police geared up, ready to end this thing if it doesn't end itself by the looks of things. So interesting times. Let's see what we can